Did you tell?
This is a call for public comment. If you have a public comment, please submit your form at this time.
Are we doing the roll call? Oh, you haven't done it yet.
Okay, seeing that we do not have any public comments, Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Heisel,
Here.
Mr. Teray,
Here.
that's Mrs. Stockton.
Here.
And Secretary's I, Dr. Hall.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are moving into our good news portion of our regular board meeting, and I will put it in the hands of Mr. Cunningham.
Well, our good news report for this month is recognition of our board. We have nice gifts for our board members that we want to recognize. And our assistant superintendents right now are working on getting those organized and handed out.
While they are doing that, just some background, the state of Illinois recognizes board members every November. And so this is why our board is being recognized on this evening.
Being recognized for the hard work that they do for their community. And we so appreciate the work that they do every day. They have, if they would open up their bags at this time so we can take a look at them. No, ain't no rabbits jumping out. All right, we have blankets for the football games with the right crest going on there and very sharp. And of course, there should be a T-shirt in there also. Dig on there. No, there's no, but that's a blanket for the football games. Soccer games. Take care. And please, somebody roll out the shirt so you can get a good example of that T-shirt. And please pick out your name on the back of the shirt. Your name should be on the back. Yeah. All right. Again, we just appreciate you guys and all the hard work that you do every day so much. That is our good news report for today. All right. Very welcome.
I have to tell you all, I am very excited about this gift because I collect blankets, and I do not have a Crete Monee blanket, so thank you. I just want to take a moment also because of this recognition to ask each of our board members to just tell us how long you have been on the board here for Crete Monee, starting with Mrs. Stockton.
Okay, this is my second term, which means I will be ending my 8th year as a school board member. And it's been very different. I've been with I could say probably 3 different boards, because the makeup of the boards and everything. And this is my second superintendent, and I'm enjoying having this new superintendent. I really welcome you, Mr. Cunningham. And I've seen so many changes, just having this building built, having the new Monee Elementary, seeing CSK go through its baccalaureate, IB programs. And I've seen our ups and downs, and, well, there'll probably be more. And hopefully, maybe I will be returning, and but no one never knows. But we can only hope for it. Thank you.
Definitely an honor and a privilege to have served on my 5th year, 2nd term. And oftentimes, you know, people ask you, why do you do this? And the why do I do this is for what I said earlier. I was raised by a great mom and dad who always told me to make it my business to give back to others. I like what somebody said earlier, that you're never going to please everybody in any room in any given day. Having the stamina to withstand disappointment in the eyes of some and being able to go forward. You have to move forward. It's a measure of, that's a measure of leadership, being able to go to the next level regardless. It's hard, but you have to have the right stamina and wherewithal to do that. I'm honored because, again, it's a very beautiful community. I've been here 19 years with my 3 sons, one who is a Crete Monee alum. I have a junior in high school and luckily a 2nd grader who's 8 years old. So I'm honored. They're proud to be Crete Monee students. I'm proud to serve in a variety of capacities in this district, and not, you know, board member is probably the one that is not the one I do obviously every day, but the one I'm most proud of is what we do after these meetings, to go into the buildings, to hear the concerns, and not just of the adults, but some of those kids you see here. I've seen them, I've talked to them, and have encouraged them to, of course, have a say about what's happening in their school in an effort that we as the adults can do better. Adults have a lot to say about what's going on in the world, but we have a younger demographic and a younger society who too has something to say. I think that service on this board has meant listening to all of those who talk, and some who you don't agree with, some who call you names and whatever. I can hear you. We definitely don't have to agree with everything that each of us says, but we need to come to a collaborative understanding that it is, this is a service, and individuals in our communities and our students have varied opinions and very varied thoughts about how we should proceed. I think what we do going forward, no matter who the school board members are or whom, it is just important to know that you have to come together to build bridges. You can't build one over here when one's standing over here and the other's standing over here. Together, the bridge will be built bigger, stronger, and better. So again, in my 5th year, I have, 3 more years to serve, and I'm anxious to continue to do the job that I've done, and I will do the job that I came to do, which is to serve this community to its full capacity. Thank you.
Going into my 4th year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, plus 1 other day, 366 leap year. That's it with me.
Mr. Heisel?
The hardest working man on the board.
11 years.
Ooh, we need to get out.
Says it all.
Enough said.
Mr. Teray?
I don't know how long, what, 8, almost 2 years. And I'm going to answer the question that our good superintendent stuck on the computer here. It said, "What type of child were you in middle school?" Okay. I didn't go to middle school. They had what they call grammar schools in the city of Chicago, K through 8th grade. And the type of child I was in grammar school was, this was pre-computers, pre-color televisions. So I was out and about and playing constantly. I loved every sport. Loved to run, jump, do everything I could outside. My mother used to beg me to come in the house, and I'd beg for 10 more minutes so I could stay out and play. So that's the kind of child I was in middle school. And actually, I was mayor of the school in 8th grade. Yeah, Oliver H. Perry School. Oliver Hazard Perry, Commodore Perry School. And south side of Chicago. Where's the good doc? She left already. Okay. And in a neighborhood called Burnside. So now I answered. Right off of Cottage Grove. Yeah, 9238 South Dobson.
Okay, now I believe you.
So now you know what kind of child I was. Okay.
And where you came from.
And I won the election because I was the biggest and baddest kid in the school at the time. Now.
Okay, Michael Jackson.
And Mike, nothing's changed, huh?
Nothing's changed at all. It's all the same, Mary. I just didn't grow. After the 7th grade, I quit growing. Probably smoking and some other bad habits. We won't go there.
Thanks.
Have a nice day.
Okay, I, along with Mrs. Sanders, I am in my 5th year serving on the school board. And what I will say about that is I was involved in schools as an educator, but also as a parent, and involved in PTOs. And it just dawned on me one day, you can only do so much on the PTO. So I decided to run for the school board. And my goal, being a school board member, is to leave the district in a better position than when I found it. And I hope that when my time is up here on the board and someone else sits in my seat and pushes this board and this district further in the direction that it needs to be in order to be successful, that I can say that I have left a footprint on this district and I have left it much better than when I found it. So that is for me. Ready.
Second.
Third. Fourth. Okay, moving right along, administrative updates. Our business department, Dr. Williams.
Good evening. I have a quick update for you regarding the energy conservation policy. As you are aware, our policy does require a periodic review of the energy and resource conservation program. This year, as part of that review, I've started to meet with all of the head custodians in the buildings and talk to them about energy and some of the things that we're doing well to conserve energy in our buildings and some of the things we can improve on. And from those conversations, we took that information to the faculty meetings, and myself, in conjunction with the head custodian, presented, and we've done probably 70% of the schools at this point, but we presented to the staff and we thanked them for their efforts, and we talked to them about some of the things that they can do to help us out. Later this school year, we plan to review the policy again and make recommendations for some revisions to further enhance that program.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Williams?
Well, thank
Keep
you,
up the
Dr.
good work.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Williams. I know when you came on board, you came running fast. And one of the things I had pointed out as this energy conservation relates to our board policy, that you guys are to give us an update, I believe, twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't hesitate to say, you know what, let's make it happen. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have our curriculum update. Ms. Laura Hirsch.
Tonight's, the first of my two reports. Tonight's first report is on the 2014 school report cards. Those were released on October 31st, as they are every year. And it's the second year of the new report card format that was released by the state in 2013. The report card actually comes in two formats. One is called an at-a-glance report. That is a two-page kind of abbreviated version of the report card that you can download and get a hard copy of, and those are also available in your board packet and on board book and also in our school offices. And then the other part is the actual online report card. It's an interactive website called IllinoisReportCard.com. And I encourage everybody to get on the website and explore. There's a lot of valuable information there. The report card, or the report card website, has information that was released in 2013. Some features were, as I said, the at-a-glance report. It has a nice little first screen that does a fast facts, which is an online feature. It also gives information on academic success, basically our state test scores, graduation rate. It gives information about our student demographics, the results of the 5 Essential Survey, which our district took in 2013, and we'll be doing it again this year. Information about school learning conditions such as class size, student mobility, student attendance, truancy, and then a feature that was added that really makes this a much more comprehensive report is the principal's highlight report. So our principals are able to go in each year and give information about courses and activities, awards that the school, things that the school has that you wouldn't traditionally see on the old report card, which is really just about test scores. So it adds a nice feature to the report card. This year, they updated some of the formatting, so it's much more user-friendly. And they added a really nice feature, which is the ability to compare schools. So you can go on and you can compare any Crete Monee schools against any other schools in the state to see how we're performing compared to other places. It also has a new metric called Freshmen on Track for College Readiness. So that looks at our freshman class from last year and looks at the number of credits earned and determines how many of our freshmen are on track to graduate in 4 years. And then another new metric that they added this year is called College Readiness, and that's based on the percent of students who earn a 21 on their ACT composite. 2 other metrics that are new this year are teacher retention. That's looking at the percent of teachers that have stayed with us over the last 3 years. And then principal turnover rate, which is the number of principals that each school in the district on average has had over the last 6 years. We also have some reporting requirements with the new school report card, and we have complied with all of those. We've posted it to our district website. We've notified parents in our school newsletters. We've made the report card available to our local newspapers. I did a school messenger a couple of weeks ago, and then the last one is to make a formal presentation to the Board of Education, which we're doing right now. So I would encourage everyone to get online and take a look at that. And the comparison reports are really interesting. It's really, we did it at the Ed Committee meeting last week, and we got to kind of pick some schools that we were curious.
Do you mind sharing those schools? Come on, let the cat out the bag.
All right.
That's good news.
Well, we looked at, I personally have looked at all of our surrounding area schools, but we looked at Bloom Township. We compared Crete Monee to both Bloom schools. We looked at Kankakee, and we looked at HF. And in most of these metrics, we're outperforming our area school, other area schools, and we're only single digits behind HF in a lot of critical categories. So we're doing quite well.
And taking a bow.
Oh, I can't stand alone and take a bow. That's a work of many.
Good job.
Work of many.
Good job. That was extraordinary. And to see it on paper. Good job.
I'd like to really encourage all of our board members and our community to access this site. I'm familiar with the former site. This site is very much more user-friendly, color-coordinated, graphs and charts, and I believe the state tried to put this information in the easiest format to understand, I would say. And I think they did an excellent job on the site. And you can find out, like Laura said, information about not only our district, but surrounding schools, all the schools in Illinois, and compare. But I will say that it helps you to be an informed stakeholder in our district. So I encourage all of our parents especially to go on the site and become familiar with the demographics and all the information about your child's schools.
Yeah, it's somewhat of an oxymoron, I guess. I believe the state actually got an award.
They did.
Yeah.
This
The
new
state.
format it was rated the top school report card in the country. And there's more, next year they'll be adding a few more reporting categories, so it's not done yet.
Wow.
Probably.
Okay,
You had, and again, congratulations. I like your response. Again, it's a village, not one individual, so that was great response. But with that said, when parents go on to these websites and review the formulas, because again, you either get overwhelmed by the information, where or what would you suggest? I know you did say it in your school messenger, but for those who have concerns or just questions, they don't have to be so much concerned, but are they contacting you or their schools directly to access that information? Or what I probably want to say how, because the school report card is reflective cumulatively of everything that particular our district is doing as a whole, and of course
Each
the
school.
individual schools.
Yes.
So I'm just going to be a devil's advocate for some way. If it's Mom A whose kid is having some difficulty, and we look at these stats, how should that parent, as Dr. Hall is saying, get involved, go read it, but more importantly, now as you see this information, what do you do with that information? Who should they talk to?
Well, I think first of all, the site does a really nice job just generally if you have questions to maneuver through it. There's videos on there. There's, you can mouse over the categories and it will provide explanations for you. So you can gather a lot of information that way. But I think for a parent that has a particular question related to their student's performance, it's to, follow the same process that we usually do, which is, you go to teacher, principal, and work your way up to my level or to the superintendent. I mean, the person that's closest to the student probably has the best answer or the most informed answer for a parent question. If it's more of a general level question, obviously, I'm available at any time via email or phone to answer those kinds of general questions.
Board Member Sanders, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but were you asking, about interventions and what kind of help we can get if their kid is struggling? Is that kind of where you were going?
Yeah, and I'm only saying it because, what was it, parent-teacher conferences, there was a lot of discussion about it in general, and so I'm just saying, while people were standing around, and even those that came to our Board of Education table, did you see the report card? So people are having discussions about it, and I'm just saying, just needing to know, okay, if there are places or benchmarks or places that they could have maybe more of a global discussion about how we as a collective team can improve so that our scores, not that they're not great or good, but that they can't improve even, because it's going to take us to get Johnny, Sally, and Sue up. That's how those grades incrementally change. So that's all I was saying is we pass out data, and I think, one of the things we learned or learn constantly when we do our professional development at these conferences, and they tell us as board members to utilize the data. So utilizing this data, what programs, or like you're saying, what interventions can we now, based on this information, utilize or put in place, or say we're not going to spend money over here, but we're going to spend money over here because we can physically see the data reflects this is what we need, opposed to a new, TV, big screen or whatever. I'm just saying. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, and the format is new, and there are some new data on there, but our schools use not only the data from the report card, but they get that data in much greater detail when test scores come back. They're able to, look at it through a different lens because we have access on the website. So, schools through school improvement planning, through presentations that they do at the building, through district leadership teams. I mean, I think we have a lot of opportunities through different committees structures that we have in place, even through our district leadership team that was working on PBIS. our Title I schools have Title I parent meetings. So there are venues out there where parents can come and discuss the kind of information that is on the school report card.
Okay. And we're encouraging that. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're encouraging that, and we'll continue to work on communicating that over and over again.
Thank you.
Next one. All right. At this time, I have Mr. Bill Hanlon with us. Mr. Hanlon is he's been working with our district since 2012, 2013 to implement his 6.1 or 6+1 strategies for student success in math. He is the director of the Southern Nevada Regional Professional Development Program. He's a regular presenter at conferences. I know that's where I first saw him. He has presented at the ASCD, at the National School Board Conference, National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. He works extensively in Nevada, and he has been working with us now. He works directly with our teachers, and he is also conducting parent sessions at each of our schools, and he's been providing a lot of resources to our teachers and our parents. And I asked him to come tonight to provide you with some basic information about his philosophy for success in math and the work that he's been doing with our math departments.
We're going to become audience members for a few
Okay.
minutes and come out and sit so we can see the presentation.
attention to the concept is still being taught and not being distracted with arithmetic. So the idea is to make the kids feel comfortable in their knowledge and understanding. And then we ask them for languages. So if you were to look in, you haven't read your folders. If you haven't brought your folders with you, one of the things that we recommend teachers do is if you look at the device packet in folder, there is a practice test printed at the end of the white packet. And you'll notice that we have a highlighting system for the test. We have a test template, and someone give you a signal if I'm going overboard. Okay. What we have done is we asked teachers to go ahead and make up a parallel constructed practice test before instruction begins, so they know clearly what it is we want the kids to do. We also asked the teachers about 2 days before an actual test that they would go through this practice test with the students to make sure it's very clear to them what we expect them to know and be able to do. So we ask a lot in terms of preparation, and then we ask a lot in terms of instruction. We want to make sure that not only do the kids know their formulas, they know how to add fractions, they know the procedures, they know the definitions of things, but we also want to make sure they understand the math. Now, in the second part of the auxiliary packet, I think it's green, we have some of the parental contacts that we recommend that read in your packet. Okay. We have suggested to teachers that they send home a packet saying, here are the strategies that we're going to use to help your kid not only succeed in math, but excel in math. That's a letter that they could use or change any way they'd like to. We also have a template for a phone conversation. So we gave this to the teachers and said, when you call home, don't call home with complaints, because typically the only time parents hear from school is when someone's hurt or something's going on wrong. So what we ask teachers to do is call as many parents as possible using this test template. And I'll be quite frank, some of the teachers then said, you know something, I don't feel comfortable with that because I don't know what to say. So what we did is we made up an actual practice dialogue, and that's in that green packet there. So yes, quite frank, having students be very aware that their parents are aware is going to help us in terms of increasing achievement. Now the last thing I'm going to share with you is if star questions are the ones when a teacher says, you're going to have a problem with liking this on a test.
So, so most of it seems, you're saying that you keep seeing it, my God, at some point, you just kind of get it.
Yeah.
Because you've been exposed to it so often.
And we want, again, the way we're going to teach it, whether I'm teaching an arithmetic progression in an algebra class, which is called skip counting in elementary, or if I'm teaching kids how to combine 70% of your students in the spring have been positioned, if you will, to have a non-proficient grade. Now, the idea is to ratchet up the standards. I get it. But I have to tell you, as an individual school teacher, I would never set up a test in my own classroom. It would not be acceptable to create a test that would have 70% of my students fail. And it's not okay at the local level. Well, it's the National Governors Association, the Council of Chief State School Officers, and the chief. Anyway, I thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And please communicate to your constituencies what we're doing in terms of helping kids prepare for the test. How was that for 15 minutes?
A little long. That's fidelity. That's fidelity. Getting it set with fidelity.
Because he had presented it to the board. I think we need to, because it received me and the success. Now, what can we, you don't have the option.
I know certain parts are bigger.
You want no? This is my water.
So they're gonna drop all these scores and scare the shit out of all these people.
I'm sorry. What were you pointing at? Those seasons.
Yeah, you need a power. You want me to? Oh, you rich. I'm your friend, I'm your broke friend. Thank you for staying.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Hanlon, for that presentation. I'd like to suggest that maybe he comes to the Education Committee, Laura.
I'll look at his schedule to see, we may have to move a committee meeting in order to do it 1 week when he's here.
Or we
but
can have a more in-depth conversation.
Sure.
Because I do believe that even with the committee members, that math is a high priority for
Sure.
us too. So, thank you. Yes, all of us. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mrs. Stockton. Are there any questions or comments?
Uh-oh.
You got a question?
The theater festival trip.
Yes,
Oh, it is.
under curriculum.
Okay, I just had a quick question on page 60. Yeah, let me see here.
67.
67.
Okay, but I had a question on page 60. 68. Just a tentative number of students traveling. It's left blank. Do we have any idea how many students are traveling?
I don't offhand. I can find out, but I don't have they didn't submit a number on here.
Okay.
Is there a standard form when schools are, well, I guess it would only be the high school for maybe an overnight, but is there a standard form that is used to submit the information to you?
This is it.
Okay, so can you just, I guess, because I've heard that question asked before, could we just add, I mean, it seems pretty bland, so could we just add some more descriptions? I don't know why the question, but I know I've heard it asked at least a couple of times. in my tenure.
Well, we might want to put on, if we're asking that question over the tentative number of students and they're not coming out, we may want to make sure they understand that we will not approve this going forward if all of the blanks are not filled.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, we'd be glad to put that at the, add that to the sheet. Just
Yeah.
if
Oh,
it's all-
because I see it's on here, it's just,
Yeah,
it was just
they didn't
missing.
fill it.
Right.
Yeah, so any form that's
We
incomplete.
know the amount of students in the drama department, right? Drama club, so
Yes.
we should, plus.
We'd have
I
an,
mean,
we'd have an
it just-
idea, but just because
Yeah.
they're in the drama
Oh, I
club
see.
doesn't.
Yeah, but it should be written in.
I see where, it's
Yeah.
just not filled in here.
Yeah, they just didn't
Okay.
fill it in.
And it's an accountability piece. In
Yeah.
case
Right.
something happens, we know
Yes.
an accurate number of how many students. As well as, I think it should indicate, I don't know if it does, the chaperone, amount of chaperone.
I don't see that.
Well, that should be it.
Yeah, they have names and it's at the bottom.
The
So
sponsor?
it's just two.
It says names and positions, teacher coach of adult chaperones.
So it's just two individuals traveling.
That is correct.
And we don't know how many kids, so we don't know if it's accurate, an accurate amount of chaperones.
That's kind of what I was alluding to. When I saw the chaperones, I'm like, okay, is that adequate? How many kids are going?
Well, and I do know this is it's the same trip they've taken in past years, and it's very, nothing much has really changed, but I'll certainly,
Do we have an estimate, roughly? 6,000, 12,000?
Only 5,000 in the district.
Oh,
In
okay.
a district.
So how many do we know? Like an estimate of the drama club?
I don't know.
Well, and Laura, of course, I mean, seriously, it sounds maybe, I heard you say we've done it in the past, but here's the big stickler. I know we had a field trip here last year, and we had, about 5 or 6 science classes attending a trip, and there was a mandated number of chaperones per students. And of course, then the other caveat is who's background checked, et cetera, et cetera. So then, when it all came to pass, we didn't have enough chaperones because enough people had not gone through the background check. So I would hate to think that people are going to go on this trip, or that we have inadequate chaperones or supervision, because that's going to come back right around here somewhere. So I think we should have that.
These are submitted to your department, Laura?
Yes, the overnight ones.
Okay, so I would suggest that whoever is receiving them, just double check, go through the form, and make sure they've indicated all the information that's being requested. And I'm just getting clarification. I don't know if you know this now, but it says the liability insurance carrier is Illinois High School Theater Festival.
Which is also the destination.
So can this, Terry, help me, can it be amended, or can it be approved and have the information just, it will be approved upon the information being attached, or is this something, because when is it again?
It's in January.
Just in January.
Oh,
We can bring it
We
back.
have time.
Okay, we got time.
And do you know
So we can
which,
just-
how is this funded?
It's through fundraising, I believe.
Fundraising?
Fundraising. Fundraising.
Okay.
So that's under the consent agenda, but will it be taken off?
We can approve the consent agenda pending the updated form, or the theater form.
Are we saying
With the
pending, or we're
suggested-
removing it
Well,
and
with the
bringing it back?
suggested adjustments of the theater application.
Which one do you want to do? I mean,
I'm just, you have time, so why are we doing it? And please tell me we don't have, it's nothing to sign, so we don't have to. Yeah, why wouldn't we move it off? It's not until January.
Do they need this approved?
How
Quickly?
quick do they have to have the answer?
Hang on, I'm gonna get you some answers.
I think the only thing is making sure they have a bus. I mean, it sounds like unless they have to submit something here to the registration
to the festival, but I don't, I'm sure we can wait till December.
So they're just going to give you a tentative number of students anyway, right?
Correct.
It's not a concrete.
Probably in December, you should be getting a more definitive number because it's closer to the time.
Depends how the fundraising goes.
Yeah.
But
To
there's
get
a
enough-
couple of blanks on here, and then the
Yeah.
verification of who the insurance carrier is. This is the name of the festival that's listed. I would think an organization is carrying the insurance.
But
So
that
it's
may
a
be
couple of concerns.
That may be an actual organization. The Illinois High School Theater Festival may have a big umbrella that they're actually doing together. But I understand your question.
Yeah, I do.
You're basically saying confirm liability insurance and get us a tentative number. And it does say tentative number
And
here.
cost breakdown per
Hang
student.
Well, the cost breakdowns are here. We have,
No, not per
95
student,
Not per
not
student.
per student.
it's transportation per student is there. And then it's like
260.
95 per student for transportation and $50 per student for festival registration, total cost.
Maybe that line needs to
Where'd
be
the other
eliminated.
$100? Oh, I'm sorry, and I missed the lodging.
Revise the form.
The lodging,
Come back with the
115 per
right
student. So, I mean, they've given us most of the information. I guess the issue and the concern that the board would have is we don't have a tentative number of students traveling. If they had put in 5.
I got a number for you. It's going to be 15 to 20.
Thank you.
According to what source?
His daughter.
The
Cynthia
assistant
Heisel,
director.
the director.
Okay, well, that's important. You just can't just throw it out there. It needs to be on this paper. I can't go by what's on your phone.
I'm sorry.
Still not gonna
Also,
vote for it.
under the insurance carrier, if you
Are we
see
confirmed?
the note, insurance carrier must supply the district with a certificate of insurance indicating Crete Monee School District 201U as an additional insured party and as the certificate holder. Now, do they normally submit this with the application? How does that work?
Typically, they do.
Do you
Is
know
that
if it's
just not
been
attached?
submitted?
Let's just,
No,
let's
no,
bring it
typically-
back.
Let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back.
But typically, we do not, you guys insure us that you do have a certificate of insurance, but you usually do not show us that. Bob has always indicated that, yes, we do in fact have a certificate of insurance, with Crete 201U being listed as the additional insured holder.
No, but this is from each insurance carrier, so there's not a standard that lists us. If this is the insurance carrier, Illinois High School Theater Festival,
Right.
they should supply a certificate of insurance.
Which they will.
Right, and that's what
But
I'm saying.
usually it's not attached to, in our board, for something to approve. That's
Well,
not
let's just-
shown to us.
I think we should start doing that, too.
Okay,
No,
if
I
that's,
think we were doing it.
I've never seen it. I think Bob said, yes, we have received one, but it never was listed or injected into our packet.
Well,
Okay, we'll just move it forward. Let's make sure we get it.
No, I mean, I know that in the past, I've brought them when I've received them.
Okay.
So
They may not just have been
Been
put in
put in
the
the
board
packet.
packet.
sometimes we don't get them right
Until-
until we register, and then
Yes.
they'll provide it. Sometimes they won't provide it ahead of time until we're actually registered to attend. That's not something they're handing out.
Yeah, I think you guys' word was suffice for us, that you did in fact, or you were going to get a certificate of insurance for various reasons, as applicable. So we said
Just
moving
trying to
forward,
be
we want the certificate.
precautionary.
We want the certificate of
If it's
insurance.
available, if it's not available, not.
Okay,
Okay, so it's 15 students, did we say?
15 to 20
Okay,
students.
so that would be adequate chaperone. Okay. So we want to remove this from the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to remove the application for
Moved.
CMH Theater Festival trip from the consent agenda? Moved by Mrs. Sanders,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
No, I'm going to say nay. I think we got enough here.
Okay, so we have 4 in favor and 2 nay. Motion carries. Now, we had a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
One question. Donations. They are under, you are going to acknowledge. Please do. You see why. Okay, call roll, please.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Heisel,
Aye.
Mrs. Stockton,
Aye.
Mr. Teray,
Aye.
Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Hey, donations. I would first like to read a card that was sent to the school board. To Crete, Monee, 201U school board members, thank you so kindly for the special gifts and gift card and many, many fond memories from each of you. We will miss all of you. We will never forget you guys. May God keep each one of you and your families. Thanks for remembering. It was so kind of you. Sincerely, George and Vanessa Elrod.
What is that for?
From Mr. Elrod for the gifts we gave, the parting gifts he received. Okay, now I'd like to acknowledge donations received to Mr. Maurice Brown.
Don't everybody clap at once, please.
On behalf of the staff and scholars of Balmoral, they're thanking you for your generous donation of popcorn. They popped over 500 bags.
Yes.
That is from Principal Jantel Perkins.
Good job.
To Mr. and Mrs. Killam, thank you so much for your generous donation of incentive. I believe this should be prizes for Crete Elementary. This is from Principal Erin Lane. She says the reward gifts are a great addition to their supply. Okay, moving on to action reports. Superintendent Cunningham.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We had a policy meeting to discuss an administrative procedures project. And in February of 2010, the Board of Education developed their policy manual by working with the Illinois Association of School Boards. And the original plan was to develop an administrative procedure policy manual afterwards. Now that we have our policy manual and our process for keeping it updated in place, it is time for us to get out and build our policy manual. The financial impact of building that policy manual would be a cost for the district of $7,800. We discussed this in the policy committee and I think twisted the arm of the finance committee chair to take a look at what we needed. So that we came out with a recommendation that says it is the recommendation of the 201 Policy Committee with input from the Finance Committee to approve the contract for ISB Administrative Procedure Project. Now, this project would give us, at the end, once we had finished, a full set of administrative procedures for each and every one of our policies and a few other items that we do as a school district. It would help us to build a system that is the same all the way through. One of the difficulties that you have when you're working without a policy manual is the interpretations are, we have 10 schools, we could have easily have 10 different interpretations. When you have your policy manual, it's one way that we do it. We do it as a school, we do it together, and as a district, not as a school. But we know how things are supposed to be done, and if anyone ever has a question, you go right into the policy manual and just review it. It is my recommendation that we approve this. Are there any questions?
Can I have a motion to approve the IASB Administrative Procedures Manual Project?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sanders,
Second.
second by Mrs. Stockton. Any questions or comments from board members?
Just one question. Who will get a copy of these?
All administrators,
Everybody throughout the district?
all of our administrators. will
Okay.
have- Yes.
So everybody will be on the same page?
Everybody will be on the same page, and when we bring in new administrators to the district, we will have a review process of it, similar to the review process that we now have in place for reviewing our contracts.
Okay, thank you.
And I must say, I think I had the superintendent tie me down by the ankles, the policy chairperson had me by the waist, and even the board, the teachers' board president was kind of nudging me in the back there to make this happen, because I think I had one person on my side not to expend $7,800. That was Dr. Williams, and it was tough. So, but I looked at the urgency, and I'm a very procedure-driven person, so this is just the right thing to do.
And it's coming faster, I might add, than we had anticipated. It was expected, as long as we've been on here, to have an updated, your predecessor promised an updated administrative manual. So I'm just glad to see that we're getting there, and much faster than we still had anticipated, even since you've been here, because you kind of even wanted to say a year, but
Yes.
it's what's the anticipated?
The anticipated time, if we approve tonight, is to have it finished by January 2015.
Awesome.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Toure
Aye.
and Mrs. Stockton,
Aye.
Mr. Heisel,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Okay.
Moving on to our business action reports. Dr. Williams.
Good evening again. School districts are required to estimate their tax levy no less than 20 days prior to adoption. Included in your packet is a recommendation from the Finance Committee to approve the estimated tax levy that was presented and reviewed at that meeting. Also included in your packet are supporting documents, an executive summary of the levy, the detailed levy calculation, a history of tax rates, extensions, and collections, as well as a copy of the presentation that was discussed and reviewed at the November Finance Committee meeting. To sum it up for you shortly, we expect to receive an increase of $588,000, or roughly 1.6%, in our capped funds. As it relates to our bond and interest fund, we will see a slightly higher increase due to the tax break that the Board of Education approved for the taxpayers of our district over the prior 2 years. The total expected tax levy extension is estimated at $48.4 million. As required by law, it is requested that the Board of Education not only accept the estimated levy, but also set a date for a public hearing just prior to the December 16th board meeting. A copy of the proposed notice is also included in your packet, and I'd be happy to address any questions that you have at this time. A detailed review of the levy will be presented during the public hearing prior to the request for approval at the December board meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the tax year 2014 estimate of tax levy?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mr. Heisel. Any questions or comments? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Toure?
Aye.
And Mrs. Stockton?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Thank you.
Fiscal year 2013-14 audit.
Yes, included in your packet was a draft of the audit that was presented to the Finance Committee and reviewed by McGladrey, our independent auditing firm. I've placed at your seat a copy of the final audit. There were minimal changes, and I'm pleased to report to the Board of Education as well as the other stakeholders that the audit is considered a clean audit. There were no audit findings. Our revenue for the prior school year totaled $68.2 million, which is an increase of less than 1% once you take out the Capital Development Board funds, because those were actually on our audit last year. And the expenses totaled $73 million, which is an increase of 2.78%. So once again, our expenses exceeded our revenue significantly to the tune of $4.9 million. That is our final deficit based off of the independent audit. Additional highlights from the audit can be found in the executive summary that was included in your packet, and I do recommend approval of the independent audit as presented.
You said 4.9?
4.9, roughly, yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2013-14 independent audit?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mrs. Stockton. Any questions or comments?
I just want to make sure, this, I think we talked about it in Finance Committee. This is contingent upon the income tax, the temporary income tax becoming permanent after January,
No, sir, this audit is
No.
based on last school year.
just last school year. Nothing to do with the year coming forward.
That
This
is correct.
No.
This is the one we went through the other day.
This
in
is an
Finance.
audit of the 2013-14 school year, which ended
Okay.
June 30th of 2014.
All right, thank you.
You know, but one of the highlights this is kind of stand out is on page 107. You kind of alluded to one of the components on that page, Dr. Williams, and one thing that's kind of, and Mike actually talked about the proration or what the state gives us if that state income tax were to go
Yes.
down
Mm-hmm.
to, I don't know what the number is, 3.5, I think, from 5% to 3.5, that it could impact our district significantly in a negative way.
Yes.
So if you look on page 107, let me see, trying to look at that paragraph that says the Illinois State Board of Education. But if you just skip down to that last sentence in that paragraph, as a result, our financial profile destination dropped from financial recognition to financial review.
Yes.
And if that happened, I think we need to start discussion. I guess I can bring that up in maybe new business. We need to have some discussion on some type of contingency to handle, I guess, our expenditures better. Money is not going to increase. Revenues are not going to increase. So we could go and see what would it take for us to go from financial review to financial watch and to financial warning. We need to start looking at those indicators and keeping us afloat.
We will most certainly look at those indicators. We are working on looking at ways to be more efficient, and the school administration, the district administration rather, will be bringing recommendations forth to the board in the next few months as it relates to a 3-year plan to look at becoming more efficient.
Okay.
We'll start that efficiency plan and the work on it in December. We'll begin work together every Friday, early in the morning, working on it, identifying and doing all the work necessary to be able to bring back the board a intelligent recommendation to keep us afloat.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want it to be any surprises to anyone
Right.
in this district or the board. And next thing you know, we financial warning, financial watch. So we need to massage our budget, whatever is needed, to assure ourselves that minimum, as a financial chair of this district, to maintain financial review minimum. I do not want to see a watch or a warning. So we just got to see, what does it take to keep us afloat.
We can actually include the efficiency plan as an ongoing agenda item for the Finance Committee meeting, so we
Okay.
will bring you updates on a monthly basis.
Excellent.
And
Okay.
it'd be something you guys reference to us on a regular basis too, because it needs to go out.
It'll go out.
We don't want to be blindsided.
We won't be
don't want people
blindsided.
Thank you.
We'll keep information flowing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Toure,
Aye.
Mrs. Stockton,
Aye.
Mr. Heisel,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Can I have I'm sorry, health insurance renewal.
Thank you. The medical and dental renewal is included in your packet for your review and consideration, along with a letter from our insurance broker, Horton Group. The health insurance renewal through Blue Cross Blue Shield will cost us roughly $5.5 million, which is a 12.6% increase over the prior year. While that is a significant increase, we experienced a decrease last year, so we are not required to increase the premium that we are charging to our staff as a result of this increase. The insurance committee, which Superintendent Cunningham will discuss a little bit later in the agenda, will be meeting to look at ways to minimize future cost increases. As it relates to the dental renewal with Delta Dental, the cost is roughly $342,000, which is an increase of less than 1%. We're very pleased with that. At this point, I am recommending approval of the health renewal and the dental renewal as presented with no changes to the plan.
Can I have a motion to approve the health insurance renewal?
And the dental. And the
Moved.
dental. Do you have to say those both?
It's a health insurance
It's two separate
And-
companies, so health insurance.
and dental. Dental isn't listed on here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I have a motion to approve health insurance as well as dental insurance renewal?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mrs. Stockton. Any questions or comments?
Did you say, Dr. Williams, you was going to have a committee to start having dialogue on this issue with health insurance and things of that nature?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't want to steal the superintendent's
Oh,
thunder.
okay, well, go ahead and thunder on. Oh, well, this is comments on this, so you're going to do any new business? Okay.
But then do you want, is this going to be approved without your question?
Well, I believe by contract, this committee needs to be formed, and we need to meet before, I believe, the end of this year. So we got to make this happen.
Yes.
We need some dialogue on it.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
Oh.
I will go ahead. I can go ahead and address that for you. The new contract between the Board of Education and CMEA requires that an insurance committee is formed. The committee will consist of 2 board members, 2 members of administration, and 4 members of CMEA, including Ms. Mary Bragg. We've already had some initial talks with Ms. Bragg. We know who the individuals on the administrative team, who the representatives will be from the administrative team, and Superintendent Cunningham will be speaking with you in new business regarding who the members of the Board of Education will be to represent the board on that committee. So we are on top of that requirement, Mr. Brown.
You guys are good. So let's,
And
That's it.
Dr. Gruber is our consultant, is that correct?
Gruber.
What? Never mind. It's just an insight.
An inside job. Okay.
Tom gets it.
you take the roll call.
Nothing.
Secretary, please call the roll.
I'll explain it later.
Okay. Mr. Toure,
Aye.
Mrs. Stockton,
Aye.
Mr. Heisel,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Secretary's aye, Dr. Hall.
Aye. Recommendation
That
to
was
seek
good.
requests for qualifications for architectural services.
Yes. Now that the facility master plan is approved, the Finance Committee is recommending to the full board selecting an architect to move forward with implementation of the facility master plan. For professional services like architectural services, we cannot go out to bid. We would request qualifications, also known as an RFP. Included in your packet, or I'm sorry, it wasn't included in your packet. I believe you received an email from the superintendent regarding the timeline for the RFP. If it is the board's pleasure, we will be issuing notice of the RFP, I'm sorry, of the RFQ. We will be issuing notice of the RFQ this Thursday if the board does approve it this evening. Hoping to do pre-interviews in the month of December. In January, bringing 3 finalists to the Finance Committee meeting. Of course, all of the board members are welcome to attend, and hopefully having a recommendation for the board at the January board meeting so that prep work for the first phase of the Facility Master Plan, the 6th grade edition, can begin in February.
RFQ, request for quote.
RFQ means request for qualifications, and basically it's awarded on the basis of demonstrated competence and qualifications. It's not strictly based on price.
Okay.
So the administrative team will be allowing every firm that submits an RFQ to provide a 20-minute preview of their services. Based on those previews, as well as the RFQs that they submit, we will bring 3 recommendations to the Finance Committee for a more detailed interview.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the recommendation to seek requests for qualifications for architectural services?
Lord, that's a lot.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Stockton,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Any questions?
I just have a question. When they give their presentation, are they able to, or is there a restriction on them telling us what their percentages of cost? You know, right now, I think our current firms, I don't know, let's say 8.5% they charge us. Will the others be able to say what they charge? Or?
Actually, I neglected to tell you that I placed at your seat a draft of the request for qualifications, and it does list an item described as their pricing structure. Now, we will negotiate with the top-ranked firm after the Finance Committee has determined who that firm is. So they will provide us basically with information regarding their fee structure, but it won't necessarily be what we end up paying them.
So it's not a concrete cost, it's I have one in the thing. But it's a,
It'll give
They
us
will
a
give us an
general
idea.
idea. It'll
Okay.
give us a general
so
idea
we
of
know
their
we're
fee structure.
compare some apples to apples.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
No.
Mrs. Stockton?
Aye.
And Mr. Toure?
I'm going to vote aye on this.
And you sound different. Anyway, Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Okay, is there any old business?
Yes, Dr. Hall, I do have an item of old business. An inquiry was made regarding reimbursement of the cost to expand Will Center Road north of Monee Elementary to Drail Road, and we did review that situation. An ordinance was passed by the Village of University Park, which consisted of an intergovernmental agreement. The intergovernmental agreement approves the Village of University Park to complete a recapture agreement. And the recapture agreement will allow them to recapture funds to build that road from companies that do business in that new portion of the road. As it stands now, there are no new businesses on that portion of the road, so the village cannot enforce a recapture agreement at this time. We will continue to follow that and check on that area to see if new businesses come about, but we will enforce that recapture agreement when we
Okay.
can.
Just to make it clear, the board at the time advanced them that money for that road, and that is money that we would eventually get back to our coffers once some businesses are established. Is that the bottom line of it?
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say it that way. I would say, according to the ordinance that I reviewed, it states that the district was to pay for the road at the sole expense of the district. But it then talks about the intergovernmental agreement and that they could eventually recapture it. So it's kind of almost like a disclaimer, because if there aren't any businesses that move into that area, then it is our expense and it will remain our expense.
Then we don't get the money back, right?
Correct.
But-
Go ahead, you done?
Okay, thank you.
Tom, for clarification, because if my memory serves me, there was a lot of discussion on this and back and forth. Can you, if you will, just refresh us? Why did we decide to?
We
do
had
that?
to run the road all the way down for two reasons. One, we couldn't get the buses down that road.
Okay, I remember.
Secondly, if there were an emergency, it would be literally impossible to get fire trucks and/or an ambulance
Okay.
down Drawley Road.
Okay, so we didn't do it haphazardly.
Yeah, what it boiled down to is safety of the kids.
Right.
Because it was
Key.
gravel, correct?
Gravel and a mess.
It was
It
a war
had potholes
zone.
that you could lose a small car in.
Right, right.
Definitely.
Good
Mike-
decision.
Yeah, they know.
I will tell you, we will not in our lifetime see the recapture of this money, only because the Will County part of that road is already a preserve.
Mhm. Yeah, they kind of played some games on us.
And
That's all right.
Will
My-
County Forest Preserve played a lot of games with us on this
You
road.
never know. My middle name's Methuselah. You never know.
Yeah.
But you said it right, the safety of the children.
Children
Sometimes
came
you're not
first.
going to recapture.
We had to do it. It was
Yes, there was
non-negotiable.
no,
Okay, good. I understand the reasoning for it. Now I understand what Mary just said.
Yeah, well, we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, my grandchildren may.
They might.
Get elected to the Will County Board or something.
Oh, yeah, that's an idea.
Change their name to Moostus.
I do have an item of old business. I was absent from the last board meeting, and just want to make sure that all the documents that Mr. Brown signed do list him as president pro tempore.
They just are listed as Board of Education, just a member of the Board of Education. It doesn't say it doesn't say any particular title or office.
Okay, if it is a signature that requires the president, were there any of those that required the president?
That required specifically the president,
Okay, so,
that I'm aware of. I'll double check.
I thought they all said president.
No, they didn't.
No, that was in
You
your
know,
dreams.
there go my glory.
I looked because I asked the question. I already asked the question.
So,
if there are any that say president, they need to say president pro tempore. Okay. Okay, any old business? I'm sorry, new business.
well, let me go back to old business. I think we go back to, we talked about the committees to meet for insurance. I think by contract as well, we need to meet, we being representatives from the district and CMEA, to talk about revenues. Let's go back to the contract and look at that. If you get with Mary, soon as time is really going fast, so we need some parallel discussions where we meet with the with CMEA in the district and have some dialogue on revenues. Okay? So let's not drop.
As per the contract.
As
Is
per
that
the
what you-
contract, yes.
Yes, sir. We'll get that
Okay,
taken
I
care of.
don't have the section, but it's in the contract.
And that
Yes,
would,
sir.
I'm sorry, is that independent of the Finance Committee?
Yes,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Yes, that's independent of the Finance Committee.
Okay, new business?
I don't think it's so new, just reminding, because somehow we skipped the board, or not unless I wasn't listening, the board update.
Yeah, it was
You
an
did
accident.
Okay. So that's okay. I guess we just needed to be, for the public's sake, we're not going to a secret rendezvous this weekend. We're going for our professional development, our yearly professional development to the Illinois State Board of Education's III Conference. And our president has been so gracious to give us an assignment on the weekend aside from all the work that we're going to be doing. So I think she asked us to make sure that we reviewed five conference topics that were going to be beneficial to some of the upcoming discussion that that's ongoing in the district. So I don't know if everybody has signed up for it, but one in specific was strategic planning made way easier, and we know we have a lot of strategic planning going on, along with, what did you say, for each and every child's strategies. We're always about the business of our increasing our student academics, and our community partnerships can be a STEM to life, and we know STEM is that's our lifeline. So we want to try to, at least if you haven't already advised, if you will, or just go to it, so that we can bring this information back as we've done in the past, and hopefully to bring some of these items back to life. I think we had, we presented from this national conference, and I guess now I just would hope that we would not only go to these, but come back to our administrators and say, initiate, ignite, let's jump on board with some of them, because you hear a lot of great things at the conference, and it's moot if we don't try to see if we can revitalize some things that we have here. So hopefully with you guys' reports or our reports, we can move to that point. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I think the superintendent has been sitting so patiently, using that patient characteristic that was mentioned earlier of leadership.
Patience, leadership, patience. Yes. As mentioned before, the new semi contract, section 23.1, requires that a district health insurance committee be formed. And it's important that we find from the Board of Education 2 members. We don't expect this committee to meet more than 3 times a year, but we will be meeting, we will be discussing, and it will be work. The 2 administrators, central office administrators that have been assigned are Dr. Williams and Mr. Neal.
Can I ask this committee, what's the projected length of time that this committee will be in process?
I've been in other districts that had insurance committees, and their meetings last from 1 hour to a couple of hours. It's according on what they're reviewing at the time. It's according on if they're talking about how they're going to keep the insurance levels down, what the expectations are, if they're talking about carriers. There's so many things to talk about. It's really difficult to say it's only an hour because with an insurance committee that we're starting here, there's going to be some additional time, especially once we get that group to, to form, norm, and storm, and then perform. It's going to take some time.
I was more specifically referring to the time that this committee will be in existence. So,
I think this is going forward. It's an ongoing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
This is something that we've added in. Mr. Brown, when you guys did the contract and you added this, was there a specific? Most of the time, when you form an insurance committee, you don't form it for one section. It's an ongoing committee throughout.
Negotiable, so it's at least to the end of this contract.
Correct.
Expire next year. So they expire next year. So
Nate, how does this interface with our consultant that's given us all these updates on insurance? And is he going to be coming around and sitting down and talking with this committee and making sure everybody's on board, teachers, everybody's on board?
From what I understand from this committee, the committee does not include our consultant. If we want our consultant to come in, we can have the consultant come in.
Oh, he's getting paid anyway, $50K.
No, he's working in a commission. This would be additional.
Additional for what reason?
For Jim? Well, Jim will come in, but the thing about the committee is to look at the needs of the district and then take them and present them to the brokers and let the brokers decide and then look at the best price. The long range, what you're really looking at is what services can we maintain for the staff and what services we can afford to keep because of the cost of insurance and what they're doing. I mean, if you did, the latest projection I got is there were sections of even the Obamacare thing that we're going to double for next year.
Because of the Cadillac Care discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they're gonna double. So what they're going with a 12.5% increase, we're doing pretty well actually, and a decrease last year, which is why we can afford to keep it going the way it is. But that's the extent of the committee, is to really look at it and is what it's going to cost us, what's it going to cost the district, how much money is available, and what can we do, and then go to the brokers.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so what you need from us is the board members that will sit on this committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'd like to recommend that those that were on the negotiating team sit on this committee because they have extensive background and they were part of the team that agreed to put this committee together. And that would be Mr. Brown and Mr. Heisel. Any comments from the board members?
Yeah, it's only going to be one meeting.
Mary looked like a good candidate, maybe. I'm wearing about 15,000 hats.
Me and Tom?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, Tom.
You want it?
What?
It's only a couple meetings a year,
Yeah.
so you and I.
Fine. I figure there'd be one
Going
meeting
once, going
between now and
twice.
April. Works for me.
Sold.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty, I do have a couple of new business items really quickly. I would like Dr. Williams, many of you probably heard the talks about Senate Bill 16 and the potential it has to affect school funding in Illinois. And it's always my intention to keep our school board informed, particularly on bills and laws that will have a major effect on our district. So I'm making a request for you to bring back some information on Senate Bill 16. I believe, did you and Mr. Cunningham go to the meeting?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so just to, keep us informed, give us the details, what's going on with that, and sharing.
Would you like a public presentation? Because we've been sending little bits, like we told you how much money that the bill as it stands, and we understand that it may change, would be additional money if there were no change in the income tax.
$4 million.
Yeah, I mean, it was $4 million. It was a significant amount of money. But things are changing. There were, if I remember correctly, Dr. Williams also went out and met with our suburban representatives and talked to them about some changes that would help the law pass. But we'd be glad to present that to the board.
Something happened today. I heard on the news. I don't know exactly what, but they said Senate Bill 16, some type of dialogue or vote or something.
Oh, they've got all kinds of things going on about it right now. I got a thing today that says basically it'll be dead in November. We'll come back in the new session. However, the thing you got to remember about the new session, the Democrats have got super majority in both houses, and it's primarily a Democratic bill. The odds are the bill will pass in some form, but not as it is right now. Okay. There'll also be a legislative session on Saturday morning, and I think it's probably around 11, about 10:30, something like that, at the down at the conference. And it's always loaded. And when the questions start, believe me, Senate Bill 16 is going to come up about 25 times.
Who's, I know I signed up for the LUDA conference because they're talking about Senate Bill 16. Are we all
Everybody
going?
is.
Or,
Mary and Nakia are attending the LUDA luncheon.
okay, so it's two of us. Cool.
And basically, it's a proposal to change the way our schools are funded in regards to property tax money and possibly take money from our more
affluent
Affluent.
district.
Well,
Community,
Yeah,
And
wherever they are,
distribute.
wherever they
The
are.
Robin Hood
Well,
mentality.
So you can imagine the
actually-
controversy.
Okay,
around
Oak
it.
Forest would stand, and which is not a rich district, would
Yeah, I
stand to
think they
lose about 7
estimated how much
million.
money we
Right.
get.
Okay,
Was
we
that
would gain
estimate?
4. The schools where you're thinking in terms of the real wealth, they won't even notice it because they're flat grant
Helping us
districts
a little
anyway.
Yeah.
They're only getting about, what is it now, about $350 a kid?
I mean, in
Something
the
like
south
that.
suburbs, they're
280.
basically robbing Peter to pay Paul,
Mm-hmm.
and
Paul Lynn,
that's not going to work.
Paulette.
You know,
Well-
Paul's not happy.
No.
No, but
And
you
I
have
think-
other things that are going on. We're talking about cost shifts as we talk about pensions. Those are coming. And then a change in how they're going to fund special education. So this $4 million that we could get if they just left it the way it is, if I remember correctly, it was going to cost us $1.2 million to cover the things that they're going to cost shift our direction.
Right.
So until we know exactly how the bill is coming out, we know exactly what the cost shift is about when it comes to those pensions and what they will be taking away from the districts in special ed, we don't really know if there's a gain or not. It might be a bait and switch. Boom.
Knowing the General Assembly, I'd kind of keep an envelope for that $4 million under your pillow and wait for the tooth fairy to come along and drop it off.
I agree with Tom that it will most likely pass, but in a different form. I know there's been some talk of adjusting it, putting a time frame on when this will actually impact the more affluent districts. So we shall see and be patient.
Dr. Hall, one final thing is you've asked Dr. Williams to bring, I guess, somewhat of some financial feedback to the board from, I guess, your attendance at the conference?
Were you referring to the conference, or were you?
Is it from the conference or?
No, they went
Just
to, there was a
remind-
meeting
we had a meeting.
that was held, I think,
Oh,
at South
already.
Suburban.
Okay, so
South Suburban College?
it was held at South Suburban College,
And it was
correct?
for district administrators.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So would you like a written report or a presentation at the next board meeting?
I think it would be good to do a brief presentation
Okay.
for the community as well, you know, so, yes.
So,
Okay.
and that leads into what I was going to ask. So are all of the administrators, your administrative team is attending the conference?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Okay, so again, we all should be coming back with some information. I know Terry typically goes to things that are pertinent to her role to be more efficient, am I correct? So I think all the team members should have something coming back and right out there that can be transparently stated. People don't want you to attend these things. You have to attend them, but you have to show something yielded result, and we need to do that. So
Well, one of
that's
the
my
things that
suggestion.
we tried to do to make sure that that was available is we got together as an administrative team. We looked at some of the challenges that are coming our way, and we divided up different sessions that we would ensure that were covered. And some of them I'm going to go to, I'm not maybe as excited about, but it's a need for the district. And some of them that other people are going to, they're covering maybe something that's a little bit outside of what they normally cover, so that we can make sure we're meeting the needs of the district.
Right.
And we put in a tentative schedule of all of those sessions that we'll be going to in the FYI. So you could take a look, and if you want to avoid us, you'll see where we're going to be.
I'm looking for you.
And as Ms. Sanders mentioned earlier, I did also send out a few suggestions for our board members to attend some of the roundtable discussions. And does anybody know any that they'd like to attend from the list I sent out?
I'll take that financial one that you put up there as one of, or was it contracts? It was
It was a
contracts.
contract
I'll take the
one.
contract one. I'll bring a report on that.
Yes, building information modeling, case studies in school construction. Is that
Yes.
the one? Okay.
I'll take that one.
Okay, Kim, the steam ahead. Okay, full steam ahead. There was also one on superintendent evaluation, one key to student achievement, strategic planning made way easier, and for each and every child, strategies of excellence and equity. And these are on Saturday from 1:30 to 3:15. Any other board members?
You talking to me?
Just you two.
Yeah. This is all business, no, not pleasure. So we working here. Let's roll up our sleeves.
So we have two, you and Mr. Brown.
What time is the luncheon, though?
On Sunday.
No.
No, they moved it now to
on
Saturday. Do you know what time the Luda, is it breakfast or luncheon?
The Luda, that is at 1 or 1:30 on Saturday afternoon.
No,
Yeah, Nikki and I can't
either me either.
really do any of those. I was
Okay.
thinking it's going to conflict.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Try to hit them all. If the
No,
time
yeah.
doesn't conflict. Oh. Oh, they all
Can't-
1 through
can't
3?
beat it all.
Okay, 10 minutes here,
I
10
wonder-
minutes there. I'll leave a tape recorder in each room.
Moving along, I want board members to consider a date in January. We do need to schedule our session with Mr. Cohen for our strategic planning. We didn't get to do it in December, so I will be contacting you for those dates to get that scheduled and get it to him as soon as possible. Okay, any other new business? All right,
No.
can I have a motion?
Since you guys, since we've moved ahead, I've heard no discussion, maybe I missed it, about any talks of community forums with the upcoming, that we've moved ahead with the buildings and some of the master plans. Are we going to get into deciding a date for that discussion?
On whether to have one or what the subject will be?
Well, we
or-
promised we'd have one, so that's not an option. The question is when, because we said we would have one.
Yeah,
Is it
just
when
need
or
clarity.
what are we talking about? I mean, one of the things that I think I sent out was that, we've reported the vote for the uniforms, and we had talked about maybe having a forum where we talk about the uniforms. That
Okay.
was something that was available. That was a hot topic, kinda. I mean, after it didn't roll over as big and maybe it's not as hot as it was, we could talk about buildings and how we want to house those buildings with the FMP.
But you're still requiring some buy-in for some other
Oh, yes.
areas. So, I'm not telling you what conversation to have, but there was discussion. So I'm just trying to find out
What
if
discussions we want to have.
what discussions and when, because the timing, if you're going to have people come in, architects come in, what you said in December?
The architect selection process, we're expecting it to be completed by the end of January. But there was definitely a plan to have community forums associated with the project once we have the architect on board to get input from them.
So
There will
after
be-
January.
Yes, and there'll be meetings with the staff as well. We will include them so that they have input, as well as Ms. Hirsch and her team as it relates to instructional needs for the new building.
Okay, so you answered the question. You're planning on it, and it should be sometime in January.
After
Or
January.
after January?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Dr. Hall, can we just decide, or just announce the committee meeting dates? So that we can review those.
Did they change?
We didn't change it.
Yeah, the finance change.
I think we had one.
Meeting has changed, and that's the only reason I bring it up.
Okay.
I have the finance committee meeting, it was originally scheduled for the 1st, but it is
That is correct.
And I just wanted to double check on the board policy committee meeting time. Is that, has that been moved to 6:30 or is it?
No, it's
That is correct.
Okay, all right, that's all I need.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
It was double moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Stockton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. We are adjourned.
Know that
Thank
by
you.
heart.
Thank you.
I will send out tomorrow. Got the note from, he sent the note after I was already over here. Mr. Yeah, so I'll send that out tomorrow. And the other thing I'll do tomorrow is I'll request from you a date in that first week in December that we can actually have the meeting. And then they will start talking more to the lawyer to press